Welcome back. Today on Dialed In DIY, we're making a monster fog maker in fog juice. This is perfect for holiday displays, special effects, and so much more. You actually may already have most of the materials that you're going to need, but for the fog juice, there's one item that's a little bit more challenging to find. That's the glycerin, but you can find it in most pharmacies and baking shops. Let's start by making a base for the monster fogger. We're going to take a large soup can and cut a little rectangle out of the bottom. This is roughly a 1.5 inch by 2 inch or 2.5 by 5 centimeter little notch that we're going to cut into this place. You're going to want to sand off the rough edges because you may end up having to stick your finger through this slot if you need to in the future. Now you're just going to pop a bunch of vent holes all the way around this base as well. You can either use a drill or, like I did, this little handheld hole punch. I kind of like the brute force method. We're going to now make some smaller holes towards the top that will fit our little wire coat hanger. You can use the same approach you used before, either a drill or a hole punch, but what you're going to need to be able to do is put 2 sets of holes on opposite sides. Now grab your wire coat hanger, or some other kind of metal wire like this if you have it. 6 inches long or 15 centimeters each is the length. We're going to want to make some straight pieces, about 4 of them to start with. Now what you want to do is grab some pliers and put a little bend in the end of each one of these pieces of metal wire. This will keep it from sliding all the way through the can once you stick it through the holes. Next, we're going to slide the wires through the holes and get them to line up because we're going to make like a crosswise or hashtag kind of a pattern on the inside of the can with these. Once it's all the way through one set of holes, you're going to bend it so that it won't come back out. And the bend that you want to put in there is about a 45-degree angle or right angle. The holes that I made for the second set of wires are actually just a little bit lower than the first holes. That makes it easier to get these to fit across and make this hashtag kind of a pattern. Now we just want to make a couple more set of parallel holes. At the top of the can, we're going to use this to put a couple more wires across. That'll just be some sideways lateral support for the can once it's in place. Find some kind of a pole that you can fit inside the can that you're going to use for the top piece. Push it down to the bottom and firmly push down so that you can take that curved part of the bottom of the can and kind of make a little bit of a level, flat shelf at the bottom of it. Now we're going to make our fog juice. We're going to start with a 3-to-1 ratio. We're going to use 3 parts of water for each part of the glycerin that we use, and then you can kind of make it a little bit more even as you want once you test out your fog maker. The more glycerin you use, the more dense the fog's going to be. With my first test, I used a small candle, but it was very insufficient. I actually used this little torch to light it with and had a little bit of a malfunction, but it was rather entertaining nonetheless. It's also a good reminder that this part of the process has a little bit of a fire risk, so please be careful. Once the top can's heated up a little bit, you're going to add about a ½ teaspoon of fog juice and let it start up. As you can see, this is not the reaction I really wanted. It's kind of disappointing. Although it's producing some fog, I wanted more, which means more heat is needed. The mini alcohol candle I made in a previous video was perfect to provide the extra heat that was needed in this project, so let's test that out next. The results you're seeing here are when I first started using the new candle inside. You can see this is much more satisfying. Even though I'm using this in a garage that is actually pretty well ventilated, after a few minutes, the fog got so thick inside my garage, my camera couldn't even focus. So, yeah, it worked. Thank you for watching. Please press like and then subscribe. There will be more Dialed In DIY to come.